Look at this circle. This circle represents $1 million. Now look at this. 10 of these circles. That's $10 million. Most people will never see that number in their lifetime. Now 100 of them. $100 million. That's the kind of money that gets you on Forbes. Now 1,000. That's a billion. Elon Musk, the man who built Tesla, SpaceX, and somehow found time to buy Twitter, has a net worth of roughly $800 billion. 800 times that last number you just saw. 800 times. And then there's you. You're probably working right now, or you just got back from work. Maybe you're watching this at midnight because that's the only quiet moment you get in your day. You've got bills, maybe some debt, probably not much saved up. And the salary you're on, no matter how hard you work, just doesn't seem to stretch far enough. Wealth, getting rich, that feels like something that happens to other people, luckier people, people born into the right families, people who somehow just figured out a secret that nobody told you. But what if I told you it's not a secret, it's an equation, and the reason you haven't found it yet is because nobody who was supposed to teach it to you ever bothered. Stick with me, because by the end of this video, you're going to see the other side of the coin. Let me talk about you for a second. You went to school, you did what you were told. Study hard, get good grades, go to university, get a degree, get a job. That was the plan. That was the promise. That's what everyone around you said would lead to a good life. So you followed the plan, and now here you are. Maybe paying back a student loan for a degree you're not even using. Maybe working in a job that pays you just enough to stay, but not enough to actually get ahead. Your rent goes up every year. The cost of food goes up. Your salary? Maybe a 2% raise if you're lucky. You look at your savings account and it almost makes you laugh. You have more month at the end of your money than money at the end of your month. And then you see them on Instagram, on YouTube, on the news. 26 years old and already a millionaire, 32 and retired, started from nothing apparently, and now living a life that looks like something out of a film. And the first thing your brain does, the thing it does automatically, is look for a reason why that can't apply to you. They got lucky, they knew the right people, their parents funded them, they were just in the right place at the right time. They probably did something dodgy to get there. I'm not judging you for thinking that. I've thought it too. Most people have. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Those stories you tell yourself, they're a defense mechanism. Because if you admit that they know something you don't, then you have to deal with the fact that you could have known it too. And that's painful. So we call it luck and we move on. But what if it's not luck? What if there's actually a formula? Before we get into the formula, we need to talk about the stuff that's already in your head. Because you have been taught things about money, mostly without realizing it, and a lot of those things are working against you right now. If you grew up in a household where money was tight, where the word expensive came with a sigh, where your parents worried about bills at the kitchen table, you absorbed a belief, maybe even a deep one, that money is hard to get, that people like us don't have much of it, that wanting more is somehow greedy or naive. Or maybe you grew up watching someone else have money and felt something, envy, resentment, a quiet voice saying that's not for you. And then Hollywood didn't help. Think about every rich character you've ever seen in a film. How many of them were the hero? How many were the villain? Corrupt, greedy, manipulative, stepping on everyone around them to get to the top. We've been fed this story our whole lives. Rich equals evil, poor equals honest. But here's what the actual data says. WealthX, a firm that tracks the ultra-wealthy, released a report showing that 68% of people with a net worth of $30 million or more are entirely self-made. No inheritance, no head start, built from nothing. Warren Buffett, self-made, started investing at 11 years old with money he saved from his paper round. Howard Schultz, the man who turned Starbucks into a global chain, grew up in public housing in Brooklyn. His family couldn't afford basic healthcare. Oprah Winfrey was born into poverty in rural Mississippi, wore potato sacks as dresses as a child. Sarah Blakely had $200 in savings when she started Spanx. She's now a billionaire. These are not lucky people. These are people who understood something you don't. So let's talk about what that is. Here's the equation you've been running your whole life. The one school built you for. Ready? Money equals time worked multiplied by your hourly rate. That's it. Go to work. Trade your hours, get paid, come home, repeat. Now, what's the problem with that? The problem is time. Time is the one resource every single person on this planet has in equal measure. Elon Musk gets 24 hours in his day. You get 24 hours in your day. A street cleaner in Lagos gets 24 hours in his day. Time is the most democratic resource that exists. And in a job, a standard job, the kind you were educated to get, your income is directly tied to that time. You only get paid when you're working. The moment you stop working, the money stops too. Let's do some actual maths here. Say you earn a solid salary, $30 an hour. You work 40 hours a week. You're disciplined, you're consistent, you don't waste it. How long does it take you to reach your first $1 million? Without touching a single penny. No tax, no rent, no food, nothing. It takes you just over 16 years. 16 years of showing up. 16 years of giving your time. Now add in tax. Now add in rent, food, transport, the phone bill, a holiday because you work 16 years straight and you're a human being. Now how long does it take? More like 25 to 30 years. And by the time you get there, inflation has quietly eaten away at your million until it's worth half what it sounds like today. You didn't just trade your money, you traded your 30s, your 40s, the years when you had the most energy, the most hunger, the most potential to take a risk on something real. And that is the actual cost of the wrong equation. Not money, time. So then the question becomes, how do the people who build wealth young actually do it? If they can't cheat time either, what's different about them? The answer is they have a different equation entirely. Pay attention here because this is where everything changes. Stop chasing money. I know that sounds ridiculous. You're watching a video about getting rich and I'm telling you to stop chasing money. Just hear me out. In the kind of economy most of us live in, a market economy, a capitalist system, there is one rule that governs how much anyone gets paid. One rule. You are paid in proportion to the value that the market perceives you to provide. Not the value you think you provide. Not the value your effort deserves. The value the market, meaning real people, real consumers, your neighbors, your country, the world, decides to place on what you do. Here's the example that makes it click. People love to complain that footballers, soccer players, are obscenely overpaid. And in terms of how hard the work is, sure, a road worker digs tarmac in the heat for 8 hours. A footballer trains for 90 minutes and earns more in a week than the road worker does in a decade. That doesn't feel fair. But think about it differently. For a footballer to earn that kind of money, there has to be a market. Millions of fans. Billions spent on tickets, shirts, TV subscriptions, video games, sponsorships. The footballer earns what the market decides his performance is worth. And when the market is that big, the best players at the top of that industry get paid accordingly. Now think about the cleaner. The cleaner is working hard, genuinely hard, on their feet all day, doing work that is physically demanding. And yet they earn a fraction of the accountant sitting in an air-conditioned office. Is the accountant working harder? No, but the market places a higher value on the accountant's skill. Why? Because the cleaner's job, as harsh as this sounds, can be learned quickly and done by almost anyone. The accountant spent years studying. He saves his clients thousands in taxes. He does something most people can't easily replace. The market pays accordingly. So here's the question. If money flows to perceived value, and perceived value is decided by the market, how do you become someone the market pays generously? The answer is embarrassingly simple. Solve problems. Solve problems. That's it. That is the foundation of every fortune ever built. If it solves a problem, money gets thrown at it. If it solves $1 million problem, it makes millions. If it solves $1 billion problem, like Amazon, like Google, like Uber, it makes billions. Jeff Bezos didn't get rich because he worked hard. He got rich because he solved a problem that hundreds of millions of people had. The hassle of going to a store, the limited selection, the slow delivery. And he built a solution that the market valued enormously. Stop chasing money, start chasing problems. Okay, at this point you're probably thinking, Alright, sounds great. But I'm not Jeff Bezos. I don't have a warehouse or millions in funding. I don't even know how to code. Am I supposed to build the next Amazon? No. Stop. You're going back to old patterns. The mindset of, I can't do that because I don't have X, is the mindset that keeps people stuck. Start with the problem. Always start with the problem. The resources come after. So where do you find a problem worth solving? You listen. Seriously, that's the whole thing. You start actually listening to the world around you with different ears. Your friend complains about the same thing every week. Your mum struggles with a process that wastes 2 hours of her day. A Facebook group is full of thousands of people all expressing the same frustration. A Reddit thread has 500 comments all saying, "Why hasn't anyone fixed this yet?" That right there, that irritation, that friction, that "why doesn't this exist?" That is the market talking. That is real people telling you in plain language what they would pay to have solved. Sarah Blakely was getting dressed for a party and couldn't find shapewear that actually worked under white trousers. That was her problem. She had $200 and zero experience in fashion or manufacturing. She spent a year cold calling hosiery mills, getting rejected, figuring it out. She started Spanx from her apartment. That $200 became $1 billion company. She didn't solve a tech problem. She didn't need investors. She just listened to a frustration that millions of women shared, and she took it seriously enough to actually do something about it. So here are the questions I want you sitting with from today. What do the people around you constantly complain about? What takes longer than it should? What service exists that is done badly and that you could genuinely do better? What do you find yourself wishing someone would just fix? Is there a group of people with a shared problem that nobody is properly serving? You don't need to answer all of those today, but you need to start asking them every single day. Because the person who asks these questions long enough, seriously enough, eventually finds something worth building. Here's where most people who try this get it wrong. And it's the piece that separates someone who builds a slightly better income from someone who builds real freedom. It's called scalability, and it's non-negotiable. Let me show you the difference with two versions of the same person. Version 1. You're an incredible yoga teacher. Students love you. You charge $100 per session. You're fully booked, 6 sessions a day, 6 days a week. By normal standards, you're doing well. But here's the reality. You have created yourself a job. A better paying job, sure. A job you might actually enjoy, but still a job. Because the moment you stop showing up, whether that's because you're sick, or you want a holiday, or you just need a break, the money stops. Your income is permanently tied to your time. You hit a ceiling and you cannot get past it. Now version 2. Same knowledge, same skill, but instead of only teaching in person, you build an online course. You record the lessons once and you put them on a platform. Now while you're sleeping, while you're on a flight, while you're at the beach, people all over the world are buying and learning from that course. The work happened once, the money keeps coming. That is scalability. One solution, delivered to thousands of people at the same time, without your time increasing with every sale. This is a restaurant versus a restaurant franchise, a local freelancer versus a software product, a single personal trainer versus an app used by 5 million people. The question you have to ask about any solution you build is this: does my income grow when more people use this without requiring more of my time? If yes, you have something. And this is why businesses can create wealth at a speed that salaries never can. Your time stays constant, your reach doesn't have to. Now, scalability also means you can't do everything yourself forever. At some point, you need systems, processes, maybe people. If there's a part of your business that someone else can do as well or better than you, and it makes financial sense, let them do it. Holding on to everything because of ego is one of the most expensive mistakes an entrepreneur makes. Build it to work without you. That's the goal. Not a business that needs you at every moment, a machine that runs. So you've built something. You solved a real problem. You've built it to scale. You set up systems that keep it running. You've grown it into something real. Now what? At some point, you face a fork in the road. You either keep running it or you sell it. And that moment, when you sell, is called an acquisition. And it is one of the most quietly life-changing financial events that most people never hear about. You hear about the big ones. Instagram, 13 employees, no real revenue, a 2-year-old photo sharing app sold to Facebook for $1 billion. PayPal, a solution to the very simple problem of sending money online, sold to eBay for $1.5 billion. Elon Musk, who co-founded the company that later became PayPal, walked away from that single deal with $165 million. That money became the foundation for Tesla, for SpaceX, for everything that came after. One exit, one transaction, one problem that was solved and built and sold, and a life that looked completely different on the other side of it. Now, most acquisitions are not $1 billion. Most are not even close. But people sell businesses for 10 times, 20 times, 50 times what any job would ever have paid them every single week. The multiple doesn't matter as much as the principle. You built something the market valued. Someone wanted it. You named a price. And if you don't want to sell, that's fine too. Maybe the business runs passively enough that you barely have to touch it. Maybe you love what you built and want to keep going. Maybe you think it's worth more in 3 years. All of that is a valid path. Either way, you built something real. Something that didn't exist before you decided to solve a problem. That's the game. But let me ask you something, and I want you to actually think about this. What was this for? When you imagined being wealthy, when you let yourself dream for a second, what did you actually see? Was it the number in your bank account? Or was it something else? Was it paying off your parents' mortgage? Walking into that house and telling them, it's done, you don't have to worry anymore. Was it that feeling? Was it the trip you've been putting off your whole life? Every country you've told yourself one day? Every experience you've decided you can't afford yet? Was it that? Was it waking up on a Tuesday morning and not feeling that quiet dread, the one that sits in your chest before your alarm goes off, reminding you that you have to go somewhere you don't want to be to do something that doesn't feel like yours? Because none of that is about money. Not really. Money is just paper. It's a number on a screen. Its value only exists because everyone agreed it does. What you were actually looking for, what everyone who has ever chased wealth was actually looking for, is freedom. The freedom to spend your time the way you choose. The freedom to not have to ask whether you can afford something. The freedom to never sacrifice a dream because of a number. And here is the part that should make you angry, or at the very least should make you think. The standard path, the school, the degree, the job, the 40 years, asks you to hand over the majority of your waking life in exchange for a retirement you might not be healthy enough to fully enjoy. You don't get that time back, not any of it. Every single hour you spend in a life you didn't choose is an hour that is genuinely gone, not paused, not stored somewhere, gone. And that is the real cost of the wrong equation. I want to be honest with you now. Most people who watch this will not act on it. Not because they can't, but because the road from here to there is uncomfortable. It's uncertain. You have to act without a guarantee. You have to be okay with building something that might fail. And most people, when it comes to it, would rather stay in a situation that feels safe than risk something that might not work. And I genuinely understand that. There is nothing shameful about it. Life is complicated. Some of you don't have the luxury of risk right now. Some of you have responsibilities that mean you can't just quit your job tomorrow and start a business. That's real. I'm not going to stand here and pretend otherwise. But even if that's you, even if your situation means you have to keep the job for now, the question of what problems you're solving is still useful. If you can solve more problems where you work, if you can make yourself indispensable in a way that others can't easily replace, you have leverage. You have a case for more money. But for those of you who felt something watching this, for the ones who are genuinely tired of the cycle, who want more than the plan that was laid out for them, who are ready to start asking different questions about how the world actually works, this is your starting point. Stop chasing money. Solve problems. Make the solution scalable. Build it to work without you. And keep going even when it doesn't work the first time, especially when it doesn't work the first time. The people who get to the end of that road, they didn't get there because they were smarter than you. They got there because they refused to stop. That is the equation to everything. Thanks for watching this all the way through. Genuinely, thank you. These things take real time to put together and it means a lot. If this hit different, share it with someone who needs to hear it. And if you want to go deeper on these ideas, read The Millionaire Fastlane by MJ DeMarco. That book is where a lot of this thinking comes from and it is worth every page. Take care and I'll see you in the next one.